The citizens of this country have come out in record numbers. This is a record. There's never been anything like it to support our incredible movement.
I'm very proud of our campaign. Only 3 presidential campaigns in the past have defeated an incumbent president. When it's finished, God willing, we'll be the 4th.
The epic presidential election battle between President Donald Trump and challenger Joe Biden is down to the final vote counting and then very possibly the lawyers. Much hangs on the balance as just fractions of total votes remain to be tallied and resulting court challenges are planned. As we tape this program, Joe Biden has the edge in the Electoral College tabulation.
It's been a long and difficult campaign, but it's been a more difficult time for our country, a hard time. We've had hard campaigns before. We've faced hard times before. So once this election is finalized and behind us, it'll be time for us to do what we've always done as Americans, to put the harsh rhetoric of the campaign behind us, to unite, to heal, to come together as a nation.
Besides the crucial presidential election, voters decided critically important Senate, House, and local races, including pro-life initiatives on the ballot in 2 states. In Louisiana, voters passed Amendment 1, which establishes no constitutional right to abortion. But in Colorado, it was a loss for the pro-life movement as Proposition 115 failed to advance. The proposition would have banned late-term abortions at 22 weeks of pregnancy. Colorado has no restrictions on abortion. For complete pro-life analysis, we're joined by our expert panel. Mallory Quigley is Vice President of Communications for the Susan B. Anthony List, and Ramesh Ponnuru is Senior Editor of National Review. He joins us on Skype. Thanks you both for being here. Mallory, it appears pro-lifers will maintain a majority in the Senate. How much do you think the recent Amy Coney Barrett Senate hearings played a role in this?
Thanks, Catherine. Yes, this is a key point. Every senator who was up for re-election this year that was in prime time during the Amy Coney Barrett confirmation, Leader McConnell, Chairman Lindsey Graham, Senators Joni Ernst and Tom Tillis, they all were in tight re-election battles and they all won. I think that this is an indicator that this was the right strategy to push through this confirmation before the election. It gave a great surge of enthusiasm to pro-life voters in these battleground states, and it was a big bolster for these pro-life senators. And it's important that we maintain a pro-life majority in the U.S. Senate, especially if the White House is lost. We've got to have a pro-life body that can be pushing back and holding Nancy Pelosi, her pro-abortion agenda at bay.
Ramesh, if Biden were to be president, what role do you see Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell having? I know you refer to him in your recent op-ed as Biden's presidential chaperone. And would this rule out the threat of court packing?
Well, I do think that court packing is dead for the foreseeable future, even if everything goes as well as it could possibly go for Democrats. They win both of the Georgia special elections that are going to take place in January. They're going to have a razor-thin majority. They're probably not even going to have that. And so I don't think they can get court packing through. I think you've got a 6-3 Supreme Court with Republican appointees in the majority for the time being. That gives Mitch McConnell a great deal of power, and it doesn't just rule out court packing. It also means that the Democrats can't get rid of the Hyde Amendment and get much more widespread taxpayer funding of abortion. That's something that Nancy Pelosi says she wants to do. That's something that Joe Biden says he wants to do. As long as Mitch McConnell's Senate Majority Leader, it's very hard to see how that happens.
That's a huge reassurance to pro-lifers. Mallory, Representative Collin Peterson of Minnesota had a reputation as a pro-life Democrat. He was supported by Democrats for Life. He lost his re-election effort. Why did your group campaign against him?
Yes, Congressman Peterson, he has had a pro-life record in the past. Unfortunately, in recent years, he's gone downhill. He received a C on our scorecard for this most recent Congress. And Marie Fischbach, she's a pro-life woman. She's been a champion of pro-life legislation in her home state. And this is the kind of woman that Susan B. Anthony List exists to support. So we were happy to see her elected alongside a wave of pro-life women in the House.
Mallory, to that point, it is still a pro-abortion majority in the House of Representatives, but I understand the number of pro-life women in the House doubled. What does this signal to you?
Yes, as of this conversation, it's more than doubled. The number of pro-life women in the House, we're looking at 25 and more. There's, I think, 6 or 7 races still to be called in Western states. I think this is a repudiation of Speaker Pelosi's radical pro-abortion agenda and a recognition that women are not a monolith on the issue of abortion. In fact, there are many pro-life women, as viewers know, that are out there across this country. And so it's really encouraging to see pro-lifers creep back and cut the lead that Speaker Pelosi and pro-abortion Democrats have in the House.
Ramesh, I read analysis that Trump so far is on course to get the highest share of non-white voters for a Republican presidential candidate since Nixon. Do you suspect that could be pegged to the life issue? Was that a motivating factor?
So we all have to be careful, as I think we've all really seen the last few days, about relying too much on polling. But yes, it does appear that President Trump has made inroads among African Americans, among Hispanic Americans, among Asian Americans. And I do think that a large part of this was the pro-life stance. You know, for a long, long time, the conventional wisdom was that this issue of opposition to abortion was an anchor around Republicans. And it turns out that it has attracted a lot more people to the Republican Party than it has pushed out.
Mallory, what's your reaction to those 2 abortion-related ballot initiatives, the one in Louisiana and in Colorado? And what do you view as other pro-life successes so far this election week?
Yeah. Well, in pro-life successes, I mean, someone like Maria Salazar in the Miami-Dade area, Ramesh was spot on in that this is a unifying issue for Republicans and for bringing in Hispanics and other minorities into the pro-life movement. You know, as far as the ballot initiatives go, very disappointing to see what happened in Colorado. Ballot initiatives are really tough to push through, and I think our allies in Louisiana Right to Life, you know, they're highly organized. They just came through the June Medical Services Supreme Court battle, so I think there was maybe more momentum there that led them to get that through. Colorado is an increasingly pro-abortion state, unfortunately, as you know, pro-abortion people move from California into places like Colorado and Texas and Montana. So very disappointing. But this is why we want federal legislation, Catherine, that would stop late-term abortion.
Ramesh, the last time that you were on EWTN Pro-Life Weekly, you said Kamala Harris combines strong support for abortion with a kind of intolerant authoritarianism. If Harris is our vice president, how concerned should pro-lifers be?
Oh, I think very concerned. I think that there are a number of executive actions that a pro-abortion president can take and would take that would increase government funding for pro-abortion organizations, for example. I think you'd see the limited restrictions that we got on Planned Parenthood funding under President Trump overturned. And I think that Kamala Harris would be at the forefront of this, pushing and pushing and pushing for more pro-abortion policy. But I also want to say that one of the results of this election, if that comes to pass, if the Democrats turn out to have won the White House, we'll be in striking distance of having a pro-life majority in the House. And 2022 might be the time when we get that pro-life majority.
Wow. Ramesh, can you speak more to that? I mean, if Biden were to take the White House, but pro-lifers maintain a majority in the Senate, how much of a consolation is the Senate? I mean, how concerned should we be in the pro-life movement right now?
Well, look, as pro-lifers, we have a huge, huge, huge task ahead of us. We've made gains in some places. We've suffered losses in other places. We are going to continue to have a fight on our hands. But I do think that we have made serious progress at the Supreme Court. If we get a congressional majority, look, we're already in the position I think we can keep pro-abortion moves from going through Congress. We're not in the position where we can get pro-life moves through Congress, but we can work and we can get to that position.
Mallory, I know throughout this campaign you've been traveling the country. I know the Susan B. Anthony list knocked on millions of doors. Do I have that right? Can you just share some insight about what you learned on the ground with Americans today?
Yeah, we learned that pro-life is a winning issue. I mean, this unifies pro-life candidates. The Republican Party it's a new. It's very encouraging just to see this. Dozens of pro-life women that have just been elected to the House. This is the future. You know, there's more and more younger pro-life voices, increasingly diverse, stepping up in politics and also in campaigning. I mean, our field team was spread across 8 battleground states, and it's very young, very diverse, very passionate pro-life men, women, people of all ages. So it's really encouraging to see people get involved in the political realm. This is the tool that the founders gave us, you know, to change law, to ensure that every life is welcomed and protected under it. And I have really high hopes, even though we don't know the outcome fully of Tuesday's election. You know, there is a lot of reasons for hope.
Yes, and I know we'll be talking about this for weeks to come, but so grateful for the analysis that we have right now with the information that we know right now. Mallory Quigley, the Vice President of Communications for the Susan B. Anthony list, and Ramesh Ponnuru with National Review. Thank you both.
Thanks, Catherine.
You're welcome.